Imagine a car with the cheapest, perpetually squeaky plastic, massive panel gaps, and a highly questionable reputation. Now imagine that engineers from the legendary Porsche had a hand in creating it. Sounds absurd, right? Yet in the 1980s, behind the Iron Curtain, this became a reality. Today we're talking about the Lada Samara. You'll learn why European engineers had to save the Soviet auto industry, how the French made this machine conquer Africa, and why a cheap hatchback became the ultimate symbol of the Eastern European mafia in the 90s. Mid-1970s. The Soviet Union is mass-producing the Zhiguli, essentially a licensed but already outdated copy of the Italian Fiat 124 from the 1960s. The world, meanwhile, had moved on. Europe was rapidly switching to front-wheel drive hatchbacks like the Volkswagen Golf. They were more compact, cheaper to produce, and handled much better. The Soviet Union exported its cars to the West to earn hard currency, but sales were plummeting. The communist elite realized they desperately needed a modern model. The problem? Soviet engineers were completely isolated from global technologies and simply lacked the experience to build such a machine. Since their own design bureaus couldn't handle the task, the Soviet Union turned to the capitalist West for help. Imagine the absurdity of the situation. It's the peak of the Cold War. Soviet propaganda rants daily about the decaying West. And at the exact same time, engineers from West Germany's Porsche get special clearance to visit secret Soviet factories, teaching local specialists how to properly build cars. Two ideologies clashing in one garage. The consultants were the Italian firm UTS, a subsidiary of Fiat, and the legendary Porsche. And this wasn't just a nominal consultation. The Germans performed deep engineering refinements. They developed the optimal combustion chamber shape, tuned the McPherson strut front suspension, designed a reliable gearbox to solve the chronic issues of Soviet transmissions, and optimized the body's structural frame. We have to admit a bitter truth. Soviet industry was so backward, it couldn't manufacture basic components itself. The USSR had to buy Western licenses for disc brakes, rack and pinion steering, and carburetors. And they straight up copied the rear suspension beam from Volkswagen. When the work was finished, Porsche engineers suggested placing a proud System Porsche badge on the engine, which would have guaranteed sales in Europe. But the Soviet leadership refused, most likely because they didn't want to pay the Germans royalties. Almost 6 years of design paid off. In 1984, the Lada Samara rolled off the assembly line. The 64 horsepower engine pushed the lightweight car to 100 kilometers per hour in 15 seconds. For a Brit or a Frenchman, the Lada Samara would later become one of the cheapest cars on the market, bought mainly by students or pensioners. But in the Soviet Union, you couldn't just walk into a dealership. People waited in lines for 5, even 10 years just for the right to buy this car. And it cost an absolute fortune. A regular engineer had to save their entire salary for years. What the West considered a cheap shopping cart was a symbol of incredible life success behind the Iron Curtain. However, production exposed all the weaknesses of the Soviet system. Factory workers lacked the necessary skills and routinely shattered windshields during installation. The interior plastic was of abysmal quality, and the electronics could kill the engine right in the middle of a drive. Porsche engineers designed a great engine, but they missed one crucial detail. There were no service centers or tow trucks in the USSR. If your Samara broke down on a snowy highway at minus 20 degrees, you couldn't call for help. Every owner had to be an extreme auto mechanic, carrying half a car's worth of spare parts in the trunk to fix the creation of German engineers with a hammer and electrical tape right on the side of the road. Export markets gave the car a mixed reception. The British magazine Motor left a brutally accurate review, noting that the panel gaps were giant, the plastic quality was pre-revolutionary, and the cabin squeaked like a disturbed ghost. The quality of export latest was such that in the UK they spawned an entire genre of folklore. The English joked, "How do you double the value of a Lada? Fill up the gas tank." Or, "Why does a Lada have a heated rear window?" to keep your hands warm while you push it in the winter. Dealers gave away free radios and even washing machines just to convince people to buy the car. But at the same time, the British were impressed by the dynamics and excellent handling, a direct merit of Porsche. Journalists summarized it perfectly. For the West, this car was a step backward, but for the Soviet auto industry, it was a giant leap. To sell this peculiar machine to spoiled Europeans, local dealers took radical steps. They completely reupholstered the interiors, swapped the seats, and sometimes even chopped off the roof to create the convertible Lada Natasha. For economy-minded drivers, they dropped reliable diesel engines from French Peugeot under the hood. But the real shocker was in motorsport. In France, the local importer created the Lada Samara T3 for the grueling Paris-Dakar rally. Only the silhouette remained of the Soviet car. Beneath the carbon fiber body hid a 3.6-liter, 300-horsepower engine from a Porsche 911 and an all-wheel drive system from the Porsche 959 supercar. This Franco-German Frankenstein in a Soviet wrapper actually won stages in the African deserts. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Eastern European countries plunged into an era of wild capitalism and rampant crime. And it was the Lada Samara, especially its 5-door and sedan versions, that became the favorite vehicle of street gangs. It was fast, maneuverable, cheap, and easily got lost in a crowd. If you've ever seen memes of tough Eastern European guys in Adidas tracksuits sitting in the so-called Slav squat, know this: their dream car was the Lada Samara. In the 90s, a tinted, lowered Niner became the official transport of racketeers, petty mobsters, and street thugs. It was the local equivalent of a black Cadillac for the Italian mafia, cheap but aggressively styled. They tried to modernize the car, even creating unique versions with Wankel rotary engines that hit 100 kilometers per hour in a mind-blowing 9 seconds. But due to their miserable lifespan, these engines broke down quickly, and the project was scrapped. The Lada Samara was produced all the way until 2013, remaining technically almost unchanged. Today, people look at these cars with irony. Their bodies rust rapidly, and the interior never stops rattling. From an engineering standpoint, it's a historical curiosity. This car became the biggest breakthrough for the Soviet auto industry thanks to just one circumstance. European engineers took it in hand. Without the expertise of Porsche and Western technology, this machine would simply never have existed.